Hey everybody, I wanted to talk today a little bit about the basic three different economic models that I'm usually going to be speaking about when we talk about different topics. Those models are the free market capitalist model, the fascist or corporatist model, and the communist model of managing the economy. So what I want to focus on is who actually has control of the means of production of goods and services when I talk about these economic models. And then I'm going to talk at the end a little bit about why free market capitalism and our political system set up by our forefathers here in the United States go hand in hand. So first, let's start with the free market capitalism model. And when we look at who actually controls the different resources and the different products and services in a free market, if we're talking about two choices being private ownership or the government, then what you have is private ownership in a free market capitalist system. So private individuals actually own the stuff that they create as they do work. In a fascist or corporatist economic model, there's a blend of both the government and private companies and private individuals owning the means of production. And in a communist government, the government owns everything. So people don't own anything individually or privately. Everything is for the state. So when we look at a free market capitalist model that we've had here in the United States as our basis for the last couple hundred years, what then is the role of government? And the answer to that is really that the government is there to promote competition so that prices on goods stay down and so that no one individual gets totalitarian control over an industry. So, for example, in a free market capitalist system, it wouldn't make sense to have one automaker, because then that automaker could charge extravagant amounts for the cars that he or she makes, and that wouldn't be fair. So the idea is to have many competing companies and individuals so that prices can stay down and you don't lead to a situation where people are unfairly charging high prices. So the government is kind of like a referee, and their job is to make sure that there are plenty of teams in the game to compete in the different games or the different industries, and also to make sure that the rules or the laws of the land are applied equally to everybody, so that you don't have unfair collusion between the lawmakers and particular companies or individuals. Now, let's say we've got this set up, which is traditionally what we've had. So we've got the lawmakers or the government, and some of their roles are to make the laws. The courts to actually carry out court cases and ensure that the laws are enforced properly. And of course there's the executive branch. So let's say we've got this system where there's a couple of teams playing in a particular industry. Maybe there's several different companies and individuals in an industry. And let's look at actually, if we were to transition from a free market to a fascist system where the government and private ownership occur in an industry. So the government is actually playing as one of the teams. So let's say we're talking about healthcare insurance. So we've got healthcare companies, A, B, C, D, and E. Now let's say we actually create, one of the things that's on the table right now is to create a government insurance plan. So let's just say that one of these 5 plans is actually the government plan. Well, in a free market system, the government's role is to make sure that all of these teams are competing and that the laws are applied evenly to all of them. Like I said, like a referee would in a game, a soccer game, for example. Now, if I've got a government creating its own team, well, let's look at what the government actually does. They create the laws, they enforce the laws through the court system. Well, that's interesting. So, if I actually had a government-created health care plan, what are some of the implications of that if the government actually runs that plan? Well, it's going to look a lot like a game where the referees have chosen a side. And the reason I say that is because there's sort of inherently a conflict of interest. Let's say I'm an individual who is in a health care plan, and for some reason some injustice is done, and I take it to court. So if I have a private company that I take to court, then it's me as an individual and the private health insurance company and the government making sure that the laws that are created are enforced. So there's an objective law enforcement through the courts here. Now let's say I've actually bought into the government plan now as an individual, and I take the government plan to court. Well, is it likely that I'm going to receive a fair trial if I'm actually going to court against the government itself, and the government is running both the plan and the actual enforcement of the plan? So that's sort of an interesting implication there. I wonder if we come up with a government health plan, whether or not this might become an issue in terms of having fair trials. The second thing is the government creates the laws. So think of like if I'm playing cards with a 3-year-old child and I'm winning the game, a lot of times the child might just decide to change the rules of the game so that I can't win and the game keeps going on until